Hi chickens, I'm going to give you a few examples now of spread positions that you can use with tarot if you are considering going into any shadow work at this point of the year, or if you do regularly do shadow work and you're looking for some ideas to incorporate tarot into the work that you're doing. One of the key things about shadow work spreads for me is the ability to try and analyse and explore which shadows or fragments of shadow are more conscious or closer to the surface, easier to be analysed and easier to be dealt with and integrated, and then which are actually deeper, which are more hidden, which are less accessible. So what I like to do sometimes is to select 3 shadow qualities that tend to primarily be on the surface of things, or are easier maybe to get into contact with, easier to deal with, or could potentially be dealt with first. And then I like to delve into what's deeper, delve into what may be less accessible. So that's a good example of something that you can do. You can use levels and kind of use that to help you to explore, if you see what I mean. Another spread that I like to use, this is something that I came up with, which is primarily to do with the buttons and mirrors idea. So you could have a top layer of the spread to take a look at what kind of things tend to push your buttons when it comes to other people, what kind of qualities and character traits, what kind of flaws in others, what kind of situations and social dynamics tend to really turn you off or push your buttons, and then look at the things in other people that you feel tend to mirror you, tend to reflect who you are when you're in your best aspect or when you're working in accordance with your highest self, and kind of analysing and exploring why those things are mirrors of you and how that relates to perhaps some of the things in others that really tend to grind your gears, and having a look potentially at how those things could be aspects of repressed parts of yourself, parts of the shadow, if you like. A big part of shadow work is taking a look at the things in other people which really tend to wind you up, and seeing how that can relate to your shadow, and seeing how you can prevent projection and actually bring back proactive thought to the self, and think about how the things that are annoying you, or that you kind of are trying to deflect, or resist, or feel that you don't resonate with, where is the seed of that thing potentially in you, and how can you deal with it so that you feel kind of less frustrated and less angry. It's kind of this whole idea of hanging on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. So it's really one of the most productive parts of shadow work in the opinions of many. Another idea I'd go with is the idea of the shadow, the method of integration of that shadow, and then the ultimate result of integration, which of course is always going to be positive. So you could take a look at one particular shadow, one particular aspect of shadow that you could work on, and then get an idea of what will be needed, what will be necessary to kind of instigate the integration of that shadow. What will the work look like? What will the technique look like that you'll have to get into practice? And then you can take a look at what will be the likely outcome of the integration of that shadow. So that will give you the inspiration and motivation to move forward with it when you actually think about what the end result will be, what you will be able to release, what you'll be able to look at with a fresh perspective, the kind of emotional balance that you'll be able to move forward with once that aspect of the shadow has been dealt with in accordance with the instructions in this second card, the method of integration. And if you want kind of an action plan for the method of integration, you can do that too. So you can start to go down and maybe plan a 3-week action plan or a 3-month action plan, which will give you some ideas of different techniques that might need to come into place, different things you might need to think about in order to actually integrate that particular shadow aspect that you're looking at. Another sort of set of position ideas for spreads would be to do with the obstacles that are apparent in shadow work. So maybe you've got some emotional resistance to actually beginning shadow work, for example. And for that, you could take a look at any external factors which are stopping you from doing shadow work. The 9 of Wands is actually a perfect one because it indicates that there's maybe quite a lot of stress and maybe quite a lot of duty and obligation in the outside world, in your external factors. Perhaps you're not good at delegating or asking for help and support, and therefore you may potentially convince yourself that you never have time for shadow work maybe, or that it just sort of can't get its way into your schedule because you're so busy. And then you can take a look at how to kind of clear the way, and move forward into shadow work. So, you know, again with the Seven of Cups, for example, this would be a great reminder that you need to actually place shadow work higher on your list of priorities, that sometimes it is really a straightforward choice, cutting something out of the schedule in order to make time for release work and healing work and shadow work to occur. So it's really a reminder for you that if you want to clear the way in order to lay those strong foundations for shadow work, in this spread particularly, it could be a strong indication that prioritising is necessary, and that you actually need to get a handle on the fact that your shadow work is as important as it really is, rather than constantly convincing yourself that there are other things that need doing. And again, once you've kind of considered the preparation and the foundation you may need to lay, whatever it might be, so let's use another example. The star may potentially suggest, in conjunction with the Nine of Wands, that there's this lack of self-love and self-compassion there, that maybe you resist shadow work or sabotage your shadow work because you're not really convinced that you deserve the very positive results of it. So that might be something that would be potentially the foundation stone, the thing that you need to work on before you can get into shadow work. So it's that preparation card. And then you can move on to the action plan. And again, the action plan can go down if you want. You can have several steps on it that will let you know what you need to do once you've actually put this starting point into place, which has enabled you to get over the emotional resistance to the work. Then you can start using the cards to plan. Another good idea that I often use with my shadow work clients in particular is taking a look at shadows which particularly exist in the realms of feminine or masculine energy for somebody. Now remember, sex is to do with gender, and sex is to do with biology, I apologise, and gender is to do with psychology. So when we talk about feminine and masculine, and I may go into this in a video, we are not talking about sex. We all possess masculine and feminine qualities, or what, if you were more Eastern of mind, you might consider to be the qualities of yin and yang, that balance, that duality between two very distinct kinds of energy which interplay and are supposed to harmonise. So when you're looking at kind of shadows that exist in the masculine and shadows that exist in the feminine, you're going to be looking at those shadows in accordance with the attributes and energies assigned to feminine and masculine, which may be blocked, or which may be difficult to get in touch with, or which may be repressed in some sense. So if you are a fan of looking at the management of your feminine and masculine energy and ensuring that they do harmonise and they do come together nicely, that might be another good idea for you. I think I'm going to do this video in 2 parts, so I'll be back in part 2 with a few more ideas for productive shadow work positions for tarot and shadow work spreads. Okay, much love, blessed be.